You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARKNWAG.com to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today, we are talking to Ellie Laks, founder of Gentle Barn, a national nonprofit animal rescue and sanctuary. Ellie is an animal behaviorist and author. Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for all you are doing for animals. How did Gentle Barn begin?
The Gentle Barn was a dream of mine since I was 7 years old. When I was a kid going through the challenges of growing up, it was always animals that were there for me. It was always animals that encouraged me to keep going. They mirrored back to me that I was wanted and lovable. They were there and listened as I cried. I mean, they were just everything to me. And what I noticed was that the people around me didn't see animals the way that I saw them. They saw them as just kind of things and objects, while I saw them as my best teachers, healers, and friends. And so from the time I was 7, I would tell anyone that I would listen. I would say, when I grow up, I'm going to have a big place full of animals. I'm going to show the world how beautiful they are. And then all the lonely people of the world can come and heal with us. And I never really forgot it. It became my mantra. It became something that I dreamed of when I went to sleep at night. It became something that I doodled about in school, on my papers and desk. It was something that was very real in my own mind, but I didn't really know how to start it. So almost 25 years ago, I discovered a petting zoo. I was a young adult living in a small house with a half-acre backyard in Los Angeles. And I discovered a petting zoo I'd never seen before. And I went in, and to my horror, found so much abuse and neglect there, so much suffering, and so much apathy on the part of the people there. They couldn't even see the suffering in front of them. And it made me sick to my stomach. And to make a very long story short, I started coming home with some of the dying animals there. It was a very old goat that I brought home and resuscitated her. And when I saw how well she was doing in my care, I went back for more and brought a whole pile of animals home. And before I knew it, I had a backyard that was full of animals that I, along with a veterinarian I called out, were resuscitating. And they were starting to play again and starting to run again and starting to shine again. And it was literally the best feeling I'd ever had in my life. And in that moment, I said, this is who I was born to be, and this is what I was born to do, and I've got to keep doing this. And so, filling my backyard with animals from that decrepit petting zoo, one day I looked out that window to a backyard that was full of animals and said, holy cow, I just started my dream. And the much longer version of that story is written in my book, My Gentle Barn, Creating a Sanctuary Where Animals Heal and Children Learn to Hope. But that's how I started. And a few years after that, we moved from the half-acre backyard to where we're located now in Santa Clarita, California, just outside Los Angeles. 8 years ago, we opened in Nashville, Tennessee, and 6 years ago, we opened in St. Louis, Missouri. So now we're a national organization with 3 locations, hopefully soon to be in New York.
Oh, wonderful. And does Gentle Barn only help farm animals?
So we help animals and people. So the Gentle Barn is home to horses, cows, pigs, sheep, goats, chickens, turkeys, peacocks, llamas, emus, donkeys, and dogs. And what we do is we take in animals that have nowhere else to go because they're too old, too sick, too lame, or too scared to be adoptable by anyone else. We're their last resort. And we bring them into the Gentle Barn and we rehabilitate them with veterinary care. But we also use acupuncture, acupressure, chiropractics, deep tissue massage therapy, ultrasound, ice therapy, water therapy, energetic healing, nutritional supplements, and lots of love. And we don't stop until they're well. And when they're finally healed, if it takes a short amount of time and we can adopt them out into families of their own, we do. And if they need ongoing care for the rest of their lives, then we give them sanctuary with us. And when they're ready, we partner with them to heal people from the same stories of trauma. So we have what's called cow hug therapy sessions, where people can come out who are suffering from depression, anxiety, loneliness, stress, grief, and they can rest their weary souls on the frames of these gentle giants, close their eyes, find their heartbeat and slow down their own, find their breathing and sync theirs with the cows, rid their minds of thought, get grounded, get centered, feel vulnerable, open, and humble. And that's where healing starts. And they can feel nurtured in a way that we really don't have since we grew from infants. And they can start healing and finding hope. And it's transformative both for the animals and the people.
Well, that's wonderful. So you mentioned your book, My Gentle Barn, Creating a Sanctuary Where Animals Heal and Children Learn. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, so my book starts in my own childhood. It starts with being 5 years old and laying in a field and being covered in butterflies and feeling a connection to Mother Earth and to nature so strong that I knew that I was going to dedicate my entire life to that connection. Then at 7 years old, I had seen so much suffering on the parts of humans and animals that I didn't want to be here anymore. And I actually tried to kill myself at 7 years old. And it was a hummingbird that stopped me and encouraged me to stay. And then from there, it's just one interaction with animals after the other, where animals resuscitated me, inspired me, and taught me. And as a young adult, I really wanted to start the Gentle Barn, but I had no idea how. And then I discovered this petting zoo. And then from there, once I started the Gentle Barn in the book, it's all about those founding animals that taught me everything that I know today. It's about all those original groups of people that came in and found themselves in the barnyard. It's about my love affair with my husband, who came in as a volunteer. We fell in love a year later. And then he took us from a tiny half-acre backyard and a handful of animals to a national organization and still growing.
Well, that's a great journey.
Yeah.
My next question is, do you have a few tips if a listener wants to start a sanctuary?
I do. And they're probably tips that you wouldn't expect, because you'd probably expect tips of how to raise money or how to get the animals or how to, care for your staff. My tips are a little unusual in that I would like to offer you, if there's anyone out there that wants to start a sanctuary, the first step would be to spend a lot of time in meditation and visualizing so that you know what dream and what vision is coming through you. There's a million ways that sanctuaries can look. You can have a small sanctuary just outside the city and have lots of visitors. You can have 3,000 acres in the middle of nowhere and just take care of animals. You can have volunteers or do the work yourself. You can have programs come in where the animals are inspiring people, or you could be closed to the public. You can rescue turtles or horses or cats or dogs or any animal on the planet. You can rescue young adoptable animals and find homes for them, or you can adopt senior animals and give them a home for the rest of their lives. So it's really important that if you're opening a sanctuary, you know what kind of sanctuary you're opening and exactly what you're going to do there. So meditate, visualize, try to search for it in your mind before you go to bed at night. Really dot those I's and cross those T's and know exactly what your fences will look like, your barns will look like, your pastures will look like, how many animals do you have, what kind of animals you are going to have, and what service will you provide for the community. And when you have secured that exact description of the vision and dream coming through you, the next step that I would offer you is don't take no for an answer. If there is a vision and dream coming through you, I do not believe in a universe that gives you a dream and then says, haha, you can't have it. If there's a dream coming through you, it's because that's what you're supposed to do. So stop at nothing, don't take no for an answer, and believe in yourself, believe in your dream, believe in your purpose. The third thing that I would offer is don't worry about the how. Figure out the what and the why, and live there in your mind like it's real. Figure out how it feels to be at your sanctuary, what it looks like, what it smells like, what it sounds like, and live in the what and the why, and let the how find you. Having said that, me and Jay, co-founder of the Gentle Barn, and my husband offer a course to those wanting to start a sanctuary. And we go over exactly what you need to know, have, be, and do in order to succeed. So if anybody's interested in that, they can go to ellielaks.com and be part of our course.
And how do people get a hold of your book?
My book is available on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and you can get a signed copy at gentlebarn.org.
Oh, I'm gonna order one. And then how do people get a hold of your organization?
Yeah, check out gentlebarn.org. That's where you can get a signed copy of my book, but you can also see where we have locations to see if we have one near you. You can see all our social media access to follow the animals and their stories and fall in love with them from afar. Come visit. And of course, you can donate, because we can't do any of this work without the people in the community partnering with us and enabling us to do it.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you will come back to the podcast.
I would love to. My next book comes out in May, and it's called Cow Hug Therapy. And It's about all of these beautiful matriarch animals that have taught me about self-care, mental health, how to get through grief. They've really raised me. And so I'm sharing all of their wisdom in my next book, and I would love to come back and talk about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I look forward to talking to you in May.
I'd love that.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.